Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. Today's video will be about installing some new running boards on my GMC Sierra. The difference is we're taking off the factory GM high clearance steps that came with this vehicle, and that wasn't an option for everybody or on their Chevrolet Silverado. So I'm going to show you what some new running boards could look like. There's nothing wrong with these, but I'm excited, and you know me, I can't resist a good set of lights to partner with Boost Auto for another full DIY project and install their Lumastep light up running boards. This is going to be exciting. Let's go. So again, the steps that I have are for a 2019 or newer GMC Sierra or Chevy Silverado 1500. These steps are made of aerospace grade aluminum. That's going to make them extra tough and lightweight. And I'm really excited about all the light up options. We have a startup sequence, we have white, amber, switchback. They can work as turn indicators, even sequentially. And we also have the ability to make them work as rock lights. So when they ship, you're going to get two boxes. You're going to get one with the actual running boards and the wiring. That's in this box here. I'll get to that in a second. And then you're also going to get a box with all of the mounting hardware. This is going to have all of your mounting brackets, some nice finishing caps for the brackets, and then all of the nuts, bolts, and washers to secure them. Quick overview of the wiring. We have the driver's side harness, the passenger side harness. We have the switch for the rock lights. So if you choose to get rock lights as a feature with your steps, you might want this switch, or there's a way to wire it up directly to an auxiliary switch, which is probably what I'm going to do. We also went for the plug and play harnesses, which is going to make connecting these to the factory wiring so much more easier. But by default, they do have a hardwire connection option that it's shipped with. And sometimes they give you some goodies. In this case, we got a Boost Auto koozie, and they gave me this fridge magnet, but we got to talk about maybe putting my truck on there, Boost Auto. So this is going to my mother-in-law. So first things first, we're going to have to take off the existing steps. Now these high clearance steps only use 3 brackets. We have one here, one there, and one back here. The new steps that we have actually use 4. So I'm going to show you exactly how that bolts up. The good news is it bolts up in 3 of the 4 locations that we're already using. And the other one there just has some little plastic plugs we've got to remove, and then we can attach them. Now keep in mind, these steps are also available for extended cab and double cab configurations. Mine's a crew cab, which is the example you're seeing today. Now I am going to take those off right away, but I want to get excited, so I'm going to take a peek at what these new steps look like. Boost Auto, dig the new logo. Oh, they're very light. Now I chose to go with this grip right here. There are different grip options. I chose something neutral because I'm always doing stuff to my truck, changing the colors, so I thought that this color scheme and pattern would go best with my setup. Okay, now we're going to get started, remove the existing steps, and then I'm going to mount up the new brackets in their new location and just tighten the bolts up just enough that we have a little bit of wiggle room if we need to make any final adjustments. To secure them, they give you enough bolts, lock washers, and flat washers, just like this, that you're going to pass through the mounting holes into the mounting locations on the body of the truck. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a 4th bracket, which is going to go in this location here. So we just need to take off these plastic covers. 1, there's 2. Now I like a little bit of efficiency, so I'm going to lay a couple brackets at this end and a couple at that end, so I can use my creeper and kind of go in between, and then have all my bolts ready to go with the right washer combination. Well, that wasn't so bad. Remember, I left them a little bit loose because we want to be able to put the step on, have it nice and secure in the right location. That way it's nice and squared up, and then we'll tighten it up to the truck. Now we have to put these caps on. There's a couple different ways that we can secure them. They send you these little push pins here. They got a little Phillips head. They are plastic. They do send a little instruction booklet that mentions tapping them in gently with a mallet. Only problem with that is because these are loose, I just feel it's not going to be rigid enough and we might end up smashing the head quite a bit. Or because of that Phillips head on them, with quite a bit of force, we can use the drill just slowly turning and push it in. But it is all plastic thread, so hopefully we don't damage any. But that's the idea, is push these in and then put this in next, and that should secure them in place. There, I think that worked. Okay, now the fun part, we actually get to put the running boards on. We can tell which side they are because of this nameplate and the module to plug in the lighting. That needs to face forward, so we do have the driver's side here. But first, we need to install these T-bolts. They're just shaved off hexes from what I can tell. They actually go in the channel down here. Slide them all the way up to approximately where your first bracket's going to be, and do that for 7 more of them, and then we'll attach them with a flat washer, lock washer, and a 10mm nut. Now it's time to exercise those early childhood development skills, and let's get the peg in the hole. I'm going to start at this end here, and I'm just going to feel where they are. Okay, that one's in, and we're just going to lift it up gently, and those are in. So 2 down, 2 to go. I think we got it. Now we get to line them up. I think what I want to do is have the front of the step and where this cap ends kind of line up with this gap right here. Something like that. I want to have it pushed in, and I believe that should line up with the cap with this line here in the door. So that's where I'm putting mine. You might like yours further back to maybe have a little room here that you can step and look in your box. I think that's the look that I'm going to go for now, but they're super easy to adjust, but we'll just do that for now. Okay, don't forget we want to put our flat washer on first, then our lock washer, then our nut. All right, steps in place. I like its location. Now we get to work on the wiring. So right here, I'm just going to overlay a diagram that's available on Boost Auto Parts website from the tutorial video. So take a look at that for a couple seconds. But I'm also going to look at the harness right here for the driver's side and show you exactly what we're doing. So starting up at the headlight, we're going to disconnect that headlight. And then this plug is going to plug in to the back of the headlight, and then we'll relock it. And then the headlight wire we disconnected will plug in here. So now it's tapped into, through plug and play, all the circuitry that we need to for the daytime running lights as an example. And then this plug here has a rock light connection here, which we'll do separately when we hook up our rock lights to my switch. But this plug is going to go to this harness, which just has the one end. And it's going to go all the way down to this end, which has 2 different size plugs that actually fit into the module on the step. That's how you know this is the end, because it has the 2 plugs. Then there's this white plug here that's going to go to the passenger side, because if you look at the 2 harnesses side by side, the driver's side one doesn't have a connection to the battery, but the passenger side one does. So it's going to connect to the battery, this is going to go over to the passenger side, and it's going to connect to a matching white plug so it can get power from that connection made to the battery. Before we attach any wiring or touch any of the harnesses, we should disconnect the negative terminal on our battery. So I'm going to start by showing you just how easy this is to fish this down the firewall, away from any heat, moving parts. I think we'll be okay if we just keep it closer to the outside of the vehicle. How easy it is to pop down underneath. Now you might need to take off your mud flaps for this. There is some openings there without taking off the mud flaps. I don't have the factory mud flaps, so it's actually a tiny bit easier for me. But what I'm going to do to aid in my mission is I'm going to use a coat hanger, and I'm just going to tape this onto here with some electrical tape, and then I'm going to fish this down. And always wrap whatever is going to get snagged really well so it creates a bit of a, almost like a cone, so it can not get snagged and actually work through and slide past whatever it's hitting. Now we need to decide where we want these wires to sit. So this one's going to have to go to the passenger side. So I'd like it to kind of end about here. So I'm actually going to tuck this under my intake right here. And then I'm going to go under this cross member. And there's actually a cavity inside part of the supports here that will allow me to tuck everything in behind this headlight. Now we need to disconnect the headlight, which is down here. Now it's kind of hard to film down in that cavity, but the plug is the exact same as the one they provide you with for the harness. You need to pull back this lock and then push this and pull out. Okay, so the harness is now connected. Now the actual step harness right here will connect here. Make sure you put it all the way in so these little tabs go into the locking area. So that's ready. And again, this wire is for the rock lights. The passenger side has the exact same thing. So we're gonna need to splice those two together and then go into the cab to one of my switches. Now before I go too far, I'm going to plug this into the module, but I'm gonna do some cable management. I'm gonna come down this mount and then back over and in to the module on this side. I don't want any wires hanging down. I don't want a wire that I can see right here. I want to use this first bracket to conceal everything. Well, there we go. I think that looks good. No dangling wires, which was the goal. Now we'll do a quick time lapse, mount everything on the other side, and then we'll finish up this wiring. Now, if you're not going to connect the rock light switch and you have an auxiliary switch, take those white leads, get yourself some lower gauge wire. I've got this right here, and I am going to run it along with the white plug that has to go over that way anyway. So I'm going to attach it to this harness, and then I'm just going to feed it along this edge all the way to the passenger wiring on that side and try to keep it nice and neat. I am just going to pop up the clips here on this shroud so I can lift the edge and just tuck the wire in behind it and conceal it all nicely. Now I've already ran the passenger side harness because it's essentially the same thing, except it's got these battery leads on it. So I'm just going to pass this through under here behind the headlight, just like so. And then we are going to connect the white harness plug. So now that's connected, both sides are connected to each other. Here is my rock light wire that I ran. Now I thought ahead months ago, and I ran an extra wire into the truck through the grommet that is just behind the battery mount here. I have lots of videos of me fishing wires in and out of the cab. It's really not that difficult if you're dealing with a small wire like this, but if you haven't fished a wire into your cab before, there is a 3-inch grommet and it comes to a bit of a cone. You need to slice or cut off the tip of that cone to make sure that you have enough room or bore for the wire that you're putting through. And then you got to get your hand up way behind the dashboard, pull back some insulation, and you should be able to poke that wire through. You can use a coat hanger or a tougher wire just to get it through. So anyway, I'm just going to connect this with the white wire that we have for our rock lights from the headlight harness. And then that way our rock lights will get everything that they need to power up properly. Now we're going to connect our power wire. There's a terminal here that you can access. You take off your battery cover. You can connect it right here, so that's what we'll do. Now for the ground, we'll use the grounding nut here. I know I got a lot of stuff here. I've got air lines, I've got a compressor, so just ignore all that. Yours probably just has this nut with nothing else attached. Now we'll just reconnect the battery, and then we still have to hook this up to our upfitter switch. I just took this panel off here. There's just these little plugs that are holding it in place. I have a little pry tool that I like to use. So once that's down, I was able to get to where the wire comes through that grommet, and I was able to fish it through to the other side just with a coat hanger. Here's a closer look at my upfitter switches. I installed this panel with these switches months ago. You can check out that video if you want, but I have the switches set up that these two have always on power and the other three only work when the ignition's turned on. So here's an example where we have the interior lights with always on power. You see the red glow of the interior. So we're just going to hook this up to button 2. Really simple. I just got to find the right wire for that. Strap those wires back up, and then we are completely done, and we'll do a reveal. Well, that takes care of all the wiring. One important note about the rock lights, if you decide to go with that feature, if the rock lights are turned on, it overrides every other feature of the steps. So when the rock lights are turned on, you just get a white light, which we'll get to the reveal in a second, and it will cancel out operations for anything else. So if we try to turn our signal lights on, our hazards, if we try to start and stop the truck, nothing's going to work except the rock lights themselves if they're turned on. So thank you, Boost Auto Parts, for making this mod happen. If you want to learn more about the Lumastep M1 Running Boards, head over to boostautoparts.com, check them out, see what they have for your vehicle. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. We'll talk to you next time.